The following program is rated T for teen for the use of tools and materials that can be harmful to unsupervised usage. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, Mr. Waugh here from Mr. Waugh Media, and yes, that is my actual name. And today's episode, we'll be working on frost giants. Now I gotta say, before we even jump into anything, this figurine is a hell of a good deal. With the discount coupon, it came to $40 Canadian. For a model this size with the amount of detail in it, you don't see that with a lot of the other figurines on the market, so I was really happy to work on this guy. Now, full disclosure when it came to the filming process, I basically was just having a lazy Saturday and painting the figurine and had the camera filming it, but I'm going to be jumping around quite a bit, like from the blade to the beard to the cloak and all that. I basically jumped around a lot. I tried to, in the editing, make sure it's a consistent timeline so you guys can follow a little bit easier, but I just wanted to put that out there. It's not a traditional episode where I had everything planned out. This was more loose, kind of just having a casual painting session. So I hope in the end, though, you still do like the episode. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and with that said and done, let's hop into this.
Alright, before the filming had even started, I of course used some black primer and covered the entire model in it, and now I'm going in there with some generic brown and dry brushing pretty much all the surfaces except for the giant ice blade. Not much to really say on this one, so I'm going to finish up the base here and we'll move on to the next step. Alright, first up we'll tackle the skin color. For this one it's going to be Stegadon Scale Green from Citadel Paints. And the best way to describe it is a grayish blue tint if you were to fabricate it yourself. And like I did warn everyone, I am going to be jumping from segment to segment, so just bear that in mind as I go from here. This was kind of just me sitting down, having fun painting, and I didn't really go in with a real battle plan. I just wanted to paint, so bear with me. But at the end of the day, this is what it's going to look like for the first skin coat, and we'll go from there. Alright, the first layer we're going to pack into the giant ice blade is called Thousand Suns Blue, and that's going to go into every nook and cranny here. I want the entire ice blade just covered in this stuff, and this one's going to have a couple different layers and washes in it, but the end result is going to look really awesome. I think you guys will be happy with the final product. So we'll just wrap this one up and we'll go on from there. Oh yeah, that looks cool. I'll see myself out. We're going to start tackling the beard next, and for this one I want a nice, beautiful, white, flowing beard. So obviously we're going to start with some black paint. And we're going to pack it in there really deep, getting all the nooks and crannies with this thing, and then we'll build it up in different layers of grays, washes, and then a final, pure white dusting as the final result. I was thinking of maybe doing some different color tinting in there, some blues, but I figure there's going to be enough with the blade and his skin color already, so we'll just keep it the white beard. It's pretty traditional for these sort of things, and yeah, the end result I was pretty happy with anyways, so start with black to make a beautiful white beard. We're going to jump in here with the next layer of the skin color. Like I warned you guys, I'm going to be jumping around from different segment to segment. This next one here is called Dark Reaper, and that's also from Citadel Paints. How would I describe this one? It's like a medium gray color with a little tint of blue in there. And I'm going to use this on most of the raised areas of the model. So for example, on the muscles, like the biceps and triceps, that sort of thing is kneecaps, the cheekbones, that sort of thing. So any part of the skin that's a little bit more raised, it'll get a light little dusting of Dark Reaper on there. Now for the metallic areas, this is just a generic gunmetal. You can pick that up from Vallejo or Army Paint or Citadel. You name it, most brands will carry it. And this is going to be applied to the metal shield on his shoulder, his helmet, some of the bracings on his legs and whatnot. And after that, I'll probably cut it with a little bit of silver. Not too complicated on that one. Back to the skin color, like I said, we're going to go back and forth. This is now a blend of Dark Reaper and Fenrisian Gray from Citadel Paints. In other words, just a lighter gray kind of color with a tiny little hint of blue in there. And again, this will be applied to the raised areas, the biceps, the face, kneecaps. I think I like this. This is really coming together with the skin color. Surprise to no one, we're jumping around once again. This time we're back to the blade and we're going to use some Temple Guard Blue from Citadel Paints, and we're going to dry brush that across the entire surface. At this point, there's a medium amount in my bristles. It's not a crazy amount. But now I'm going to go in there with that same Temple Guard Blue, and I'm mixing in a new color called Baharuth Blue. Where do they come up with these names? I know it's based on a character from their lore, but like, it's so hard to describe it to people. Best way I can say it, it's a baby blue, basically. Just go with that. All right. I'm taking the Baharuth Blue now and Temple Guard Blue mix. I've added a little bit of white to it, probably 2 parts white, and that'll get dry brushed over everything once again. And yeah, this is really looking awesome. I was going to say the cool joke again, but I realized I've already used that one. So, and I don't really want anyone slapping me over bad jokes, so I'll leave it at that. All right, time to work on the bone elements and any horns, that sort of thing. And for that, I'm going to use Baneblade Brown. If you need it in a pinch, you could use maybe some different tan colors, mix it with a bit of brown. And this will be the foundation for all of those elements. Eventually, we'll go lighter and lighter, but this will get packed in there pretty thick. Just a little bit of the brown base coat's going to be showing underneath that, and that's about it. Alright, we're going back to the beard, everyone. We're taking 1 part black, 1 part white to make a medium gray, obviously. And that'll get dry brushed, making sure the black is still showing in between all of the hairs, right? Don't worry if it gets in there too much. We're going to do a black wash afterwards, and that'll, rectify any issues there. But for the most part, that's about it. Speaking of, we're now going to use 2 parts white to 1 part black to make an even lighter gray color. Once again, dry brushing it over all the surfaces. If it gets in there, don't worry, yada yada yada, rinse and repeat. Alright. I will say, this is a pretty epic looking beard overall. It kind of reminds me of my back hairs. It's just majestic and flowing. Back to the Ice Blade, we're going to use a contrast paint called Talisar Blue from Citadel Paints, and we're going to pack that into the blade nicely. And since we've already done layers underneath it, this contrast paint is going to just amplify that, giving it a really rich color. Alright, back to the back hairs. The beard. We're going to put a nice null oil wash in there, also known as a black wash, and that's just going to make the whole thing pop out. Afterwards, we'll do a nice white dry brushing, and I think the beard's pretty much going to be done at that point. Now, while I'm letting that all dry, I'm going to start working on some of the other elements. There's a lot of different brown things on this guy. For example, the dead deer carcass that's on this side of his belt. We got this big pelt that's going over his shoulder. And this is just going to be some generic brown. I'm going to pack it in there really heavy. Just a little bit of the first coat's going to be showing through there. I guess I should clarify, the very first layer was more of a sort of a burnt umber compared to this one, and this would be more of a cinnamon kind of color. But you can still see both of the different browns in there, and it still pops out. All right, jumping around once more, we're going to go work on the bone stuff and the horns. This is now called Ushapti Bone from Citadel. Not too much to say on that one, just a light dry brushing. But now I'm going to take that same color, the Ushapti Bone, I'm going to mix it with the Baneblade Brown to make this lighter tan color. And that's going to get applied on any of the cloth elements. So he's got sort of a little loin cloth on the front there. There's some along the side for the trim. He's got a little bit on his cloak. So I'm going to pack that in there pretty heavy. Just a little bit of the brown will still be showing through there. But it's going to give a nice contrast because we've got this very stark brown color mixed with these bright, vibrant blues. And then we're going to have this brighter kind of whitish cream color. To add a little bit more to the mix, I'm going to take 1 part red and 1 part brown to make this nice bright color. Think of this as almost like a fox pelt or some large creature that he's slain, and that's going to be the trim along the edge here. Again, just to give some nice color contrast. Final part of the beard, we're going with some pure white and just lightly, very lightly dry brushing that across all the surfaces to give him that nice Santa Claus kind of look. Back to the pelts, we're going to use some Baneblade Brown because it is a lighter color, and that's going to get dry brushed over all of these pelts here, especially the main one on the front, a little bit on the side, but I really want that shoulder one to really pop out there. Returning back down to the cloth, again, I'm so sorry for all this jumping around. This is now 1 part Ushabti bone and 1 part pure white, and that's going to be used now on the skulls, the bones, the cloth, and we'll do a little bit of a wash later on, but overall this is really starting to show all the different elements, especially in the bones. I really like it. It's really popping out nicely. Alright, we're going to use that same fox fur. This time I've taken some pure orange, mixed it with a little bit of the red. Blink once and it's gone. There's not really much to do on that one, just a little bit on that shoulder guard. Now I'm taking pure white at this point, and I'm very lightly going to dry brush this over all of the ice blade, but I'm especially going to focus along the edges and those little icicles that are dangling off the bottom of the blade there. That's going to get, let's say, 2 or 3 coats, whereas the rest of the blade is just getting 1 extremely light dry brushing. Now, the cool thing is that we did all the layers before we did the contrast paint, right? And that's sort of preserved underneath it, and it's given this really cool, not exactly a 3-dimensional look, but you can see the layering in there with the ice blade. And overall, I think this is a really cool look. And sorry, I didn't mean to actually say it. I said it unironically. It looks neat. There we go. We're going to go back to the metallic areas. And for this one, I'm going to use a dark copper. In this case, it's called Warplock Bronze. And this is going to be used along the edge of the shield. He's got a couple little gauntlets on him that are going to get a little bit of a touch-up. There's some bolts here and there that'll get a little drop. His belt buckle, that sort of thing. I think at this point it's dealer's choice how you want the metal colors to look. For me, I like using the really rich, I'd say, dark copper look. And then I'll do little spots of gold here and there. Now, this segment I didn't really get a chance to really do. It's the leg guards and his arm guards, which have a bunch of different things strapped to them. Because I had to focus and get really close, I wasn't really able to film it. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Just some different browns on the robes, and that's about it. Alright, I'm going to go in now with some Agrax Earthshade, and that's going to get packed into all the elements of different browns, the wood especially on the shaft of the weapon, around the bone elements. All the furs are going to get this, of course, anything metallic, and it's just really going to make it pop out. Here, let me just adjust it a bit. Alright, that's looking pretty awesome there, I gotta say. Okay, and once again, I apologize. I didn't really get to show you the fur segments on the legs and the belts and all that. Like I said, it's just sort of a weird episode to film, I'm not going to lie, but I hope you guys have gotten it for the most part. Alright, I think the main part of the model is finished now, so I'm going to start working on the base. For this, it's like my other recipes, if you've seen my other episodes, it's just 1 part brown, 1 part golden yellow to make this light sand color, and that just gets packed in there pretty nicely, I'd say about 80% coverage. And yeah, I'll just pack it in, finish it off, and we'll go from there. Once that's all dried, I go in with that same recipe, but this time I add 1 or 2 parts of white to make a lighter sand color, and this gets dry brushed across the surface. There's a little bit in the bristles, but not too much, and that just gets covered across the entire surface, like so. Yeah. It's pretty familiar territory for a lot of the old guys, but if you're new here, welcome. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. Sorry for the sort of scattered approach. I promise it'll be more professional in upcoming episodes. Alright, now I've added even more white to the mix. I think at this point it's about 3 or 4 drops to my little sandy color. And that's going to get dry brushed across everything, like I said before. And we just sort of build it up from there. If you're satisfied at any point, you can call it. For me, I think about 4 layers is what I was happy with here. Now I'm going to go in with my flock. For this case, we're just going to use some clear glue. You can use white glue as well if you want. And I've just got some generic green flock. Sometimes I'll use swamp mix, but I like this one just because it does kind of pop out a little bit more. And that's just going to get put in random patches here and there, knock off the excess. Put a little bit more here in the front. And I think with that, I'm pretty much satisfied with my coverage. That looks pretty good so far. Excuse me. And now I want to do some little tufts of grass here and there. So for this one, it's just a little droplet. I picked these up. I think their Army Painter is the one that I use the most. It gives you about 40 or 50 different tufts of grass and a variety of different sizes. So that's usually my go-to. I'm going to do about 6 or 7 of these on the base, and I think I'm done. I think I'm pretty satisfied, and voila, this is what my random jumping around episode has yielded. I think this model looks amazing. He's huge, he's hulking, he's imposing. There's some really nice detail work, and I do apologize I wasn't really able to show you all the little tricks that I pulled on this one, but the general body, I think I covered most of it fairly well. And there's some really awesome detail work. Like, this is what all those layers did to the ice blade. Like I said, you can still see underneath some of the other stuff that we've done in there. And it makes it pop. This thing just looks awesome. I'm kind of nerding out on my own work. Sorry, don't mind me. Here's what the final base looks like. I said there's a couple different tufts of grass here and there. You can really see the animal pelts in there. I think I did like a little orange wash for some of them to make it a little different. But overall, that has been the Frost Giant from Dungeons & Dragons. Well, that has been today's episode. I really hope you guys liked it and maybe found some useful information in there. If you did, make sure that you hit the like, the share, and subscribe button down below, and please pass this around to all your friends. We're really trying to build the channel from the ground up. If there's anything that you want me to build in an upcoming episode, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll be able to build it for you in the future. On that note, I've been Mr. Waugh from Mr. Waugh Media, signing off.